WFYI podcasts are brought to you by Visit Bloomington. With over 350 restaurants to choose from, Bloomington, Indiana is truly a food lover's paradise. Go to visitbloomington.com to discover what suits your taste.
This is WFYI News Now. It's February 29th, and I'm Aubriana Herron. On today's show, a new resource hub aims to make it easier for people in Indianapolis to access food assistance. Southern Indiana egg farmer John Rust was removed from the Republican primary ballot for U.S. Senate, and the inaugural Chancellor and Executive Vice President of Indiana University Indianapolis started work this month. We've got a conversation with Dr. Lata Ramchand, who will oversee the split of Purdue University and Indianapolis University's joint venture, IUPUI.
What I'm seeing is that there is deep collaboration between the schools.
Those stories coming up. But first, the Indianapolis City Market is set to close for renovations Friday. WFYI's Jill Sheridan has the details.
The historic market will not reopen for 2 years as the entire city block prepares for redevelopment. AB Mobile Kitchen owner Aaron Brown rented a stall and says renovations are needed.
The building is old, so it's not really up to date, so it leaks and things like that.
About a dozen businesses remain at the market that has struggled through the pandemic and a loss of downtown workers. The market will be refurbished and reopened to businesses in 2026 when a private company will take over. More than $200 million will be invested in the city market block through a public-private partnership. I'm Jill Sheridan.
And a new resource hub in Indianapolis aims to make it easier for people to access food assistance. WFYI's Darian Benson has more.
The Food Service Resource Hub, or FRESH, will offer both emergency food supplies and connect people with longer-term resources. Indie Hunger Network will staff the hub with trained food resource navigators to help people apply for food assistance programs, find food pantries, and access other social services. The effort is a collaboration between the Office of Public Health and Safety and the nonprofit Indie Hunger Network, and supported by $1.4 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds. FRESH is located in the Mapleton Fall Creek neighborhood. The hub is open for public walk-ins Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Appointments can also be made at indiefoodresourcehub.org. I'm Darian Benson.
Southern Indiana egg farmer John Rust was removed from the Republican primary ballot for U.S. Senate in a unanimous decision by the Indiana Election Commission Tuesday. The Indiana Supreme Court also ruled against Rust Tuesday, reversing a lower court decision that would have kept Rust on the ballot. State law requires candidates in a primary party to either have voted in that party's primary in the last 2 primary elections in which they cast a ballot, or to get the permission of the county party leader where they live. Rust doesn't meet those requirements and argues it's an unconstitutional requirement to get on the ballot. Rust's attorney repeated those arguments before the Indiana Election Commission, urging its members to keep Rust on the ballot. But Commission member Karen Celestino Horseman says the board's hands are tied.
Indiana Supreme Court has spoken to us, and they've told us to enforce the law as it was originally written.
That was already true before Tuesday. The Supreme Court had temporarily halted the lower court's decision that allowed Rust on the ballot. And then, minutes after the Election Commission's decision, the Supreme Court issued a new order saying it had voted against Rust. Rust's attorney says the campaign plans to both appeal the Election Commission's decision and continue the lawsuit. And for our final story today, the inaugural Chancellor and Executive Vice President of Indiana University Indianapolis started work this month. Lata Ramchand came to IU from the University of Missouri. WFYI's Ben Thorpe sat down with Dr. Ramchand to discuss how she'll lead IU Indianapolis through its split with Purdue University as IUPUI officially becomes 2.
I want to start just by asking, how have your first couple of weeks here in Indianapolis been? How are you adjusting?
Yeah, so far it's been great. I have been visiting as many groups as I can, visiting colleges, Every day we do 2 colleges on average, the library, the graduate school. This morning we went to the Madam Walker Center, just getting to know who is doing what and what is it they're doing. And what's inspiring to me is so many of our people have been here for years, and it's generations of commitment that they bring to this institution, as well as the opportunity in this city and region to really serve the needs of the state and our citizens, I think is very compelling.
As I understand it, part of your role is going to be overseeing the split between Indiana University and Purdue University here in Indianapolis. With the official separation beginning here in July of this year, what changes might students and the public notice here in Indianapolis?
As far as what we deliver to students, right, it's an education. I don't think anything should change. What will change is specifics if you are in this major or that major. And we are working really hard, and by we I mean people who have been here before I came here, have been working really hard to make sure that as far as the student is concerned, that transition is seamless. Now, that doesn't mean we have all our questions answered, but we are working with students, working with faculty to make sure that all the gaps are filled in. And really, the goal is that student, is to ensure that that student's career is not impacted by this realignment.
Yeah. I've noticed over the last couple of months, both IU Indianapolis and Purdue in Indianapolis will be working to expand some science and technology program offerings. And it feels like there might be some overlap. How is what Purdue and IU offer here going to differ?
IU is going to be offering these programs in informatics, computing and engineering. Purdue is working on engineering and technology. And really, it's up to the student to decide where they want to focus on. And we are giving some of our students the option to decide whether they want to get a Purdue degree or an Indiana University degree, the ones that will graduate after July 1. So I think from that perspective, it's going to be up to the student to choose. We have expanded our offerings in informatics. We have expanded our focus on biosciences, life sciences, and certainly all the other schools that have always been a part of this institution, like the business school, the law school. Obviously, the goal is only to grow those schools. So.
What do you think the relationship between IU and Purdue here is going to look like moving forward, collaborative or competing?
Great question. So again, I go back to this institution was built based on the coming together of 2 great institutions, right? And those relationships over the last 50 years are strong. Faculty work with faculty. They don't care what your institutional affiliation is. If your research aligns with someone else's research, you tend to partner with them. Students, they see each other as friends. Staff members see each other as friends, colleagues, community. So I don't think those relationships will or should go away. What we're working on is the details, and I think for the most part, what I'm seeing is that there is deep collaboration between the schools. We're meeting almost every week with the folks from Purdue, the academic affairs teams from Purdue. In fact, just yesterday I met with the vice provost there, and just a good relationship with our folks. In fact, he was the one who brought me Michigan Jam. So, yes, just a great relationship, yeah.
Dr. Ramchand, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us.
Thank you.
That's all for today's episode of WFYI News Now. Our podcast is produced by the following people who live in your community: Darian Benson, Drew Dodlin, Kendall Antron, who composed the music for this podcast, and me, Abriana Herron. Our news director is Sarah Neal Estes. If you like today's episode, remember to subscribe and share, and follow WFYI on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube to check in on our newsroom throughout the day. Thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow.